Ghost stories are often intended for entertainment, a way to creep you out with a fictional tale of malevolent spirits. But what if they aren't just stories? As it turns out, not all ghost stories are fiction. In fact, some of the most terrifying ones are actual recountings of real events. Here are 10 disturbing real ghost stories that will haunt you. Number 10 is the Willows. The Willows is a terrifying ghost story based on real events that happened to one man. Algernon Blackwood published the story in 1907, and it follows two friends who are on a canoe trip down the river Danube. After finding an island in the middle of the river, they land on it and camp there for the night. However, as the waters rise around them, they find themselves stranded there, and after seeing what they think to be a corpse in the water, they suddenly realize the island is haunted. Blackwood himself has come out as saying that he has traveled extensively and that the rumors that this story is based on his life experience turned out to be true. Oftentimes, authors will put their real terrifying stories into fictional tales with characters because nobody will believe them. Number 9 is the Flying Dutchman. The concept of a ghost ship has been used as a fictional device in films, novels, and most famously in Samuel Taylor Coleridge's The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. But shockingly, many of these stories are actually based on real-life ghost ships. The Flying Dutchman is a large sailed ship which is doomed to sail forever and can never make port. Many believe that to even see the Flying Dutchman is an omen of doom. The stories of the ship go back to at least 1790, when a traveler described how sailors feared seeing the Flying Dutchman and believed that it was an apparition of a ship which could not make port during bad weather. It sank beneath the waves and its crew drowned with it. The Flying Dutchman has since been seen in multiple similar storms, and all sailors know to avoid it lest they suffer the same fate. Number 8 is Martin's Clothes. M.R. James wrote many of the greatest ghost stories of all time, and one in particular is based on a real event that took place in the 18th century England. The story is called Martin's Clothes and tells the story of a young woman with learning difficulties who falls in love with a rich man. Whenever the man walked through town, the woman would follow and sing to him. Eventually, he killed her, and afterwards was haunted by her ghost, who either taunted him or was obsessed with him still, depending on your reading of the story. Since the writing of the story, it has been discovered by researchers that that story is based on the real case of Henry Malcolm, who supposedly treated a similar young woman badly, which led to her suicide. Number 7 is The Woman in Black. The Woman in Black was written in 1982 by Susan Hill. It tells the story of a remote coastal village in England, which is preyed upon by a malevolent apparition known as the Woman in Black. Whenever this ghostly figure is seen, a child soon dies. Horrifyingly, this was a real experience that Susan Hill had, which led to her writing The Woman in Black. One winter evening on the Suffolk coast, Susan walked along a path which cut across a beach looking out to the North Sea. It led to a notorious deserted marsh, and as the sun set, Susan was heading home and came across a rotting boat lying in the mud. She suddenly realized that she was not alone. The shadows moved around her, and a strange light shone nearby. Ever since that encounter, children that she encountered began dying one by one. Number 6 is the Amityville Horror. Written by Jay Anson in 1977, the Amityville Horror is based on a terrifying case of supernatural malevolence. This story was so powerful that it caused mass interest in haunted houses throughout the 70s and 80s, and was even produced into a series of successful horror films. However, the events that are depicted in the book are real and chilling. In November of 1974, a man shot and killed his entire family as they slept. In total, the body count of dead people was 6. The house where this happened was on the south shore of Long Island, and the man who did this soon claimed that the house had been haunted and that he had been possessed to commit such barbaric murders. Now, this may seem far-fetched, however, soon after, another family moved into the house. Lasting just 28 days, that family left, as paranormal phenomena had driven them from their new home. Number 5 is the Signalman. The Signalman was written by Charles Dickens in the 1860s. It is one of the most terrifying ghost stories ever written, and it was significantly influenced by Charles Dickens' own life experiences. In this story, a signalman whose duty it is to change points and signals on a train track is confronted by a hooded figure by the mouth of a nearby train tunnel. Each time the figure appears, a horrible tragedy occurs on the train line. Charles Dickens himself was involved in a train crash in 1865. The train derailed on a viaduct, causing carriages to fall into the water below. Dickens himself survived and attended to many of the wounded and dead. It's said that he was haunted by this event until the last years of his life, and that an ominous figure of the Signalman directly relates to that experience. Number 4 is The Shining. Stephen King's classic 1977 novel, The Shining, is based on his own life and the chilling hauntings of the Stanley Hotel. While visiting Colorado's Stanley Hotel in 1974, King was influenced by its eerie atmosphere. He and his wife were the only 2 guests in that hotel because it was getting ready to close for the season. After being isolated and walking the empty halls, King began to have nightmares that his young son was being chased screaming through those very same corridors. Many believe that the hotel has a haunting presence living within it, and that perhaps King himself was influenced by it. He was also struggling with an alcohol addiction at the time, similar to the character Jack Torrance in the book. The Shining is literally a product of a haunted location and a man haunted by addiction and forces in real life. Number 3 is The Changeling. Released in 1980, the screenplay for The Changeling was based on the direct paranormal experiences of its writer, Russell Hunter. He believed that while living in a mansion in Denver, that the ghost of a young boy made contact with him. Through unexplained noises and bangs throughout the house, Hunter discovered a hidden children's room on the property. The writer then attempted to contact the spirit through a seance. The ghost directed him towards another house, where the spirit said that its bones and a gold medallion bearing the boy's name could be found. It turns out that the boy was a wheelchair user and had been murdered while still a child. Russell Hunter used these chilling experiences to write The Changeling and tell the spirit's harrowing story. Number 2 is A Christmas Carol. Every year, people sit down to read or watch a version of Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, but what many people don't realize is that A Christmas Carol was partly inspired by real-life events. The book tells the story of a miser called Ebenezer Scrooge. He's a moneylender and is as cold-hearted as they come. On Christmas Eve, he's visited by 3 spirits which show him the error of his ways. As it turns out, Scrooge himself was actually based on a real person. He was a banker from Edinburgh called Ebenezer Scroggie. The man had told of stories of how he was haunted throughout his life by the decisions that he made. Dickens took his terrifying life story of being haunted by the paranormal and turned it into a book. And number 1 is The Monkey's Paw. Published in 1902, The Monkey's Paw by W.W. Jacobs is both a legendary ghost story and based on fact. In the story, a family finds an old mummified monkey's paw. They are told that the paw had a spell placed upon it and that it grants the owner 3 wishes. However, the wishes are granted at a terrible cost. The family wishes for £200 to pay off their mortgage. The next day, their son is killed at a factory and they're given £200 in compensation. 10 days after the funeral, the family wishes for their son back, and his mutilated body walks slowly up the driveway towards their home. The truth behind this story is that there are in fact relics, including cursed monkey paws and rabbit feet, which you can buy at certain shops. These items have been known to bring with them terrible misfortune. However, those who buy them are not aware of this. And that's it. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more like it in the future, subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications for my new uploads. Thank you for watching. Sweet dreams.